Victor Hugo's sprawling novel, Les Miserables, is a literary masterpiece. Published in 1862, the story's protagonist is Jean Valjean, a kind man, mercilessly imprisoned for stealing bread for his starving sister. After serving 19 years of hard labor for a scrap of food, he is released into society with parole papers that identify him as a dishonorable thief. This label as thief and the papers that testify to it make it impossible for him to be employed, to secure housing of any sort, to find a place that will feed him. Finally, starving, cold, and altogether wretched, Valjean happens upon the house of the wealthy Bishop Myriel. To his surprise, he is taken in, fed, and given a bed for the night. While the household sleeps, however, Valjean decides to steal silver, trays, and plates, a whole bag full. Disgruntled, desperate, confused, and afraid, he has become what society has labeled him. Soon caught by the police, he is beaten and returned to the bishop for condemnation. With absolute certainty, Valjean will now face the rest of his life toiling in prison. Shamed and fearful, he waits for the accusation that will cost him his freedom. But when questioned, the bishop assures the authorities that all the stolen silver was a gift. Moreover, the bishop states that in his haste to be on his way, Valjean had forgotten to take a set of silver candlesticks, also part of his gift. The stymied police are dismissed. The bishop then tells Jean Valjean that good can come from him if he takes the silver and changes a life with it. Bishop Myriel is a model of lavish love. He takes in a stranger, clothes him, feeds him, and shelters him. As a man of God, the bishop recognizes the injustice of the world and the cruelty it has inflicted upon Valjean. With piercing vision, the bishop sees beyond what society sees to the possibility in this broken man. So instead of wreaking vengeance, the bishop gives up his silver and offers forgiveness. In doing so, he takes the crime and turns it into a means of conversion. This generous love repairs Jean Valjean's soul. It transforms him into a beneficent, determined, and altruistic man with a spirit of love to make the world a better place. A man like Jean Valjean had no place in the economy of France in the 1830s. While much has improved globally over the past 200 years, still today, many struggle for basic necessities. God's economy is different from our own. Its currency is love. It produces equity and justice. In God's economy, every person is valued and everyone has enough. People don't flourish at the expense of others, for we are so bound together in the sacredness of community that the well-being of one is the joy of another, and the suffering of one is the misfortune of everyone. Our gospel today illustrates God's economy. In it, the Lord of the vineyard gives wages beyond reason to those who work less. This strikes at a sense of fairness and raises the ire of the early workers, with whom it is all too easy to identify. It's in our nature to want fairness. Fairness is subjective, however, not based in some universal standard, but directly linked with our experience and circumstances. And like the early laborers, when we feel that we've been treated unfairly, it elicits strong emotions. As the early laborers grumble about their wages, The Lord of the vineyard says, I choose to give to this last the same as I gave to you. Am I not allowed to do with what I choose with what belongs to me? Or are you jealous because I am generous? A deeper dive into the text reveals that the Greek word often rendered jealous literally means, is the eye of you envious because I am generous? The eye in biblical understanding reveals character. It is the window to the soul, as it were. And envy is a deadly sin, a caustic desire for what others have, coveting by another name. Through this lens, the story is not just about fairness, but about personal character. The early laborers are envious that later laborers had to work less to earn the same, jealous that the Lord of the vineyard loves equally. Shouldn't their efforts, their hard work, entitle them to more money, more love? And so a hard truth of human nature is revealed. We begrudge God's generosity to others, particularly when it doesn't square with our understanding of fairness. In 2017, Daniel Snyder et al. Published a study about attitudes and the redistribution of wealth. Many arguments for and against the redistribution of wealth are based on ideas of fairness. The study, however, demonstrated that compassion, self-interest, and envy are much more reliable predictors of support for wealth sharing. Specifically, they write, obstacles to increasing the welfare of the least well-off involve not only insufficient compassion, but also the presence of envy. In telling the parable of the generous Lord of the vineyard, Jesus emphasizes the abundance of God. Divine love is dispensed equally to everyone and anyone, regardless of deservedness, our judgments, or our definition of fairness. It repairs broken, sinful people like me and perhaps you. Christ's love saves us from our sin and from the prison of evil and pours out lavish love upon us just because God can. There is a holy intuition, a divine imagination that can somehow see the possibility of each one of us transformed by love. Our Creator made a world in which there is more than enough for everyone. And Jesus is clear that his disciples are the stewards of God's economy. We are blessed by his love and charged with the mission of reconciliation, to repair that which is broken, from this fragile earth, our island home, to our personal relationships, to the communities we live in and beyond. Jesus Christ, through his life and sacrifice, is our evidence that there are no bounds to the unmerited, lavish love of the divine. This is something that we should both proclaim and live with hearts of compassion. Some seem born with a generous spirit. Other people, like Jean Valjean, come to understand their undeserved blessings. Their hearts are warmed by amazing grace and filled with generosity. Another one day surprises himself by offering a gesture of peace, and a relationship is repaired. Still another acts with random kindness, and love wells up inside her, urging her to give and give again. What's clear is that your generosity is not based in what you have. Generosity flows from how you perceive your relationship with what you have. If you know that your life depends on God, and you understand that God loves you unreasonably, more than you can ask or imagine, generosity will flow from your heart. The unearned divine gift of love, lavish love, sets you free, and it sets you free to give life to the world.